And we say call to order. Start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first order, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Have none.
Okay, do we approve the minutes from last?
Later on in the action item or consent.
Is there anyone registered to comment on action items? Okay, then we can go ahead and get started with our guest reports.
So we have Skillman here this evening to give us an update on, pardon me?
First on the agenda.
All right, Mr. Cherry.
Getting you home early.
That's the number of minutes.
Thank you, sir.
I got a bed with my name on it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's been a long week.
Thank you. I watch you guys do it every day.
Nearly as big as you want in there.
Not as deep as I thought it
Good evening, and thank you for having us here to update you on the progress of the natatorium. Here, this first photo right here is kind of an overall shot of the natatorium where the actual pool will be. You can kind of see the decking and everything's painted. Walls are getting filled with block fill coat, and then it'll get final coatings later on. You can kind of see in this photo a little bit of the acoustical ceiling clouds that hang over the pool there. I got a better photo too coming up, but that's kind of a little overview shot of the whole. You can see the bleachers there. Yeah, that's and actually the excavation just started today of the actual pool. So, and I have some photos on my camera. I didn't get them on this presentation, but we started digging today. So.
I was gonna say, from the photo, it doesn't look like a very deep pool.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping that we would get some, but yeah, of course it was today, so I couldn't get it on this presentation.
So we're not going swimming tonight.
Yeah, no. So, yeah, I'm just gonna give the update for the natatorium. The improvements project, which had all the lighting upgrades and stuff like that for the middle school and for the high school. That's continuing, but it's little areas that we're still finishing up, mainly corridors and stuff like that, and certain areas where just kind of coordinating with Jason and figuring out when we can get into areas. So it's really just little areas left to do on that, but it's just lighting work that's left. All the mechanical and any other general work is completed. So yeah, so for the upcoming work that we have coming up, just continuing mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection rough-ins. Finishing roofing over the new fitness center, a future fitness center that will be on an upcoming project, and roofing details over the actual pool area, and we're still finishing installing the acoustical ceiling clouds, which those are actually completed now. So that was kind of what we were waiting on to do, the excavation of the actual pool. And then there's just acoustical ceilings throughout where areas that are finished with painting, and the above ceiling rough-ins are all finished. So just getting into those areas as areas become ready for it. So And then they're washing the exterior brick right now, so it's gonna look a little bit more pretty here. And with this nice weather, that's been helping with that, so, cause that was kind of what was holding off with washing. And then we have, yeah, just continuing painting inside. And then I have the start of the excavation of the pool, which I mentioned already, so. Next one, and go back, I was just gonna show the, so here's the clouds, a little bit better view of it looking up. And then I got a photo of some painting going on here.
Hey, Mr. Cherry, I had a question. So I'm guessing the reason the paint went up on the ceiling than the clouds is because there was not a hole to have to work
Yep.
over.
Yep.
What happens when you start digging and possible dust of the dirt? Is the cleanliness of all of that up there of a concern, or?
It is, but the clouds are actually, we have visqueen wrap to cover it.
Yeah.
It's actually, some of them are covered now, so this was taken before that. And there's actually some light fixtures and stuff going in too, but they're not in yet. They can actually do the light fixtures with it excavated. They can reach over and get those in.
Okay.
So some of them, they started putting some around the sides, but yeah, that's part of the reason they're holding off, just so that dust. But there's, you know, like air purifiers that run and kind of try to minimize as much dust as we can. I mean, it's filtered pretty good in there because of all the exhaust that's in there. So there's a lot of airflow in there just because of that too. So.
I thought you were gonna ask when you started talking about the acoustical tiles, but 5 years down the line and there's a tile that falls or it gets moldy or whatever, do those tiles, is there an access up there where you can get and do that work above the pool?
Not up like where you can walk like a catwalk. No, you'd have to have something reach over it. And there's equipment that you could do that with. It's just, we try to do it in this order just so that you're not
So
having.
like a
to do
petty
all
bone
that.
or something that would
Get
reach
Jason a
up?
highball and he'll just throw it up in the rafters.
shoot them.
I can still shoot him. He'll just climb right up there.
If I can add, you can access the deck with a lift.
Okay.
And this is always like, when you build these pools, it's that, give and take, because you can get in there and work efficiently and do a better job, and it stops everything down below, or you get up there and protect. At some point in the pool, the environment's vulnerable, because you're cutting tile, we still got a lot of things to do, so you do the best you can with the protection, knowing that you're gonna have to at some point probably get a lift in there to touch up things and clean. It's not 100% done, but it's just like it's give or take. There's no right way to do it.
It seems more efficient this way.
It does, because when you get digging that pool, pour the concrete, the time from the time you pour the concrete and have the tank to the time you're actually starting tile could be 8 to 10 weeks, because you gotta do all these tests. You gotta test the concrete, and you'll probably find a leak. And then you have to let it sit there, fill up the pool and let it sit there, and then you gotta drain it, and then put the waterproofing on and test it again. And that waterproofing has to sit for a certain time period. So that's why pools do take a long time. But it's an interesting process, and we know that going in. That's
Thank you.
Here's just some more photos. This is it'll be the aquatic director's office. Just some of the interior masonry walls are all up. I think they're all fully complete with the interior CMU. And then I got some nicer shots of the roof up there. The last photos I had it was covered in snow, so couldn't really even tell what it was. And yeah, this is the roof over where the pool will actually be. there's some lower roofs that they're still working on, but like I said, with this nice weather, it's given a good boost to all this work, so it's helping out a lot. And here are some photos of the locker rooms, just the prep work for forming in the concrete benches in there. This is one where it's actually poured. These two up here, kind of the prep work, getting it ready. And this is a little bit of a plan showing kind of where the locker room, there's actually PE lockers and lockers for the swimmers. And this is where that last slide had the aquatic director's office, which is right there. And this is where the actual pool would be on this side. So it's right off of that. And then this is just the vestibule out off to the west side of the building. Just the last brick, pretty much, that's completed. So, any questions?
We still targeting July?
Yeah, so
We're
it's
still targeting April?
the plan is to have it all ready by the time school starts. So we'll have that's it's still all on track. Like he was saying with the testing and everything, as long as that stuff goes smoothly, then yeah, that we're in really good shape. And just never know with some of those tests, but we don't foresee any kind of issues or anything like that. And this nice weather's helping out, like I said. So we had a few weeks where it was pretty bad, but
It's actually funny when they do test it and you find a leak. I mean, it's not funny, but they literally bring in their scuba divers that are specialists at that, and they'll pinpoint and find exactly what was there.
How do they do
It's
that?
kind of wild when you see it. Hopefully, we don't have to do that.
Do they put some dye or something in there?
They just know how to do it, I guess. You know, a guy goes under and he'll go to a corner, and it's usually a detail that was missed, either a water stop or something, and you have to fix it. And then once it's fixed, test it again. So it's double tested. You got the waterproofing, and you got just the concrete by itself, which you know
It's gonna absorb.
cracks, filling them up, and you have to wait for that cure time. So it's a little bit of a technology and science behind building a pool.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Then we're
Thank you.
opening bids.
oh yeah, and then the bid opening for the old pool infill is the next week on Thursday. So, and I think we'll have a lot of bidders. A lot of people showed up with Jason, and we walked the site with a lot of contractors. So, surprised by how many there were. There were actually quite a few. So,
That's good.
I feel like we could give like a discount to like some of these games or something, like everybody bring a bucket.
Full savings.
Still like the price of it.
Bring a bucket of fill, you can
I'm going to, every meeting I'm gonna start bringing a bucket of sand. Where you want me to put it?
10 years later.
filling it in.
Is that pool empty now?
No.
No.
Jason's face.
All right.
We won't empty that pool until this thing's done. That's what basically focused on. We're making sure that we're gonna get it done.
Yeah.
You know, pools they're always used. It seems like there's no right time to shut a pool down.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we got Tammy.
Yeah,
Curriculum.
so we have quite a bit going on right now to share with the board here. So we're gonna talk a little bit about curriculum, instruction, and assessment. We're going to talk about the teacher appreciation grants that went out or that will be coming to our teachers this year. We are in the heart of assessment season, so I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Textbook adoption, that will be a board action item later on. And then the high ability handbook, we have some updates as well before we post that online. Okay, so the first one is the state of Indiana this year changed the teacher appreciation grant requirements. The general gist of it is that only 20%, up to 20% of the teaching faculty were eligible for a sizable grant and they included 3 tiers of that, tier 1 being $3,500, tier 2 being $5,000, tier 3 being $7,500. Districts had some leeway in how they wanted to determine what those criteria were to be able to earn one of the tiers. But it did have to be based on student performance significantly impacting student outcomes beyond one typical school year. So we set up quite a few criteria for our teachers to take a look at each grade level. Teachers had multiple ways that they could qualify, and then teachers applied. And for teachers who applied, if we went over the 20%, then we held a lottery. And we had somebody that came in, a teacher representative, to observe and watch that process. And then we were able to identify 30 teachers in our district who qualify then for this TAG grant at tier 1, which is at $3,500. And the district was allotted a sum of money from the state, and then after April 15th, I believe, we will receive that money, and then we have 60 days to give that money then to those teachers.
It's a lot more complicated than years ago. We just got a lump sum and.
It was. And so there were a lot of hurdles to go through. First of all, identify what do those criteria look like? What were assessments that we could base our decisions upon? We tried to this year make sure that we use database decision-making. The state does allow for things like teacher leadership and those types of value-added measures, but we did not add any of those this current year. We just stuck with straight data from assessments that we have in the district. And we tried to find as many data points that we could to make sure that K-12 teachers could qualify. What was also different this year is only teachers could qualify. In the past, administrators could qualify, librarians could qualify, school counselors could qualify. They could not qualify, only if you had a roster of students last year using last year's school data. So we will, of course, in going into, next year, try to improve upon this process and work with our teacher leaders, hopefully, to try to make this process better. We're always trying to have continuous improvement, but we felt that we had a pretty transparent process and informed the teachers all along the way of what that process would be and make it as fair as possible.
I would say it's been a motivator, you've seen. There's a lot more focus on student academic performance and what can we do to intervene. And if you think about it, $3,500 is more of a raise than any teacher has received in the recent past.
In one lump sum, absolutely. Okay, so we are in the heart of assessment season. And one of the things that we keep in mind here with our guiding principles of high achievement and continuous improvement is accountability. The heart of it is the evaluation of those characteristics essential to student success. And that includes academic performance, and it also includes college and career readiness. So in this way, using assessment, sometimes the A word has become taboo, but if we are to measure how well our students are progressing in their learning, then the data become important for us. The state of Indiana requires several tests. Some students have just one test they'll have to take depending on the grade level. Some will have several tests that they'll have to do. It depends. So some of those include WIDA, which is a test we have for our English learners, COGAT, which we're in the heart of right now to identify our high ability students, iLearn, winter and early spring check marks. We've already done a fall checkpoint. So we've done the fall ones, and now we're finishing up winter, and some will be looking towards the spring checkpoint already. SAT school days already coming up in about 2.5 weeks, if that's crazy to think about already. The iLearn summative assessments will be in April and May. We have a biology one, and then grades 3 through 8 in ELA and in math, and then grade 4 and 6 in science, and grade 5 in social studies. Advanced placement exams are in May. Those always start in May. That's set by College Board. And then CTE examinations tend to happen in the spring as well. So we have students all around that are testing with different measures. Tri-Creek Schools includes additional measures for progress monitoring. So we do use PSAT. We use it in the fall. 10th grade We'll also have one in the spring. So we'd like to take a growth measure, and that's one that we're looking to expand into grade 9 as well next year for a fall and a spring growth measure. And then these data points will make up a large portion also of the school's letter grade that I believe Superintendent Anderson has talked about earlier this winter. So these points become important talking points for us as we evaluate the data. And Superintendent Anderson and I, we met with the principals this week to talk about setting up systems in place to be able to monitor these data points as they come in. Professional development is also well underway, and we've been having some great results. We started off with having, even in the summer before school started, we started with professional learning community training. We had some with Solution Tree, but we also have hired Carrie Rosebrock from Carrie Rosebrock Consulting. And she's been coming in on contract with us throughout the school year, largely at the middle school, at the intermediate school and middle school. That's where we focused our energy this year. And that's included coaching, not just for Shannon Missouri there, but also for all of our principals that we've worked with Carrie, but also with norm setting for all of our PLCs there at the middle and intermediate schools, and helping to really develop their procedural efficacy so that they're using their time well to look at student data, to look at how students are progressing in their learning. And as I've shared before, we've been seeing some returns on that in our checkpoints, and we're hoping, knock on wood, that our summative assessment data show something pretty similar. We just introduced the building thinking classrooms. Marty here, who's with us, she joined us for that training, and that is about student engagement. And we got that STEM integration grant. We were awarded that this fall, and it's a sizable amount, so we were able then to bring her in, not just for the initial training on building thinking classrooms, but also on student engagement coaching. She's coming in and modeling, working with teachers directly, so that we can get math conversations happening, thinking happening, and getting kids really kind of out of their seats and not just looking straight ahead and receiving information passively. So the professional learning community works in conjunction with the building thinking classrooms to be able to get multiple facets of how that we are approaching development there. Curriculum mapping is continuing as well. That's 5 through 12. We'll be starting that with ELA as soon as our textbook adoption process is underway. We do local mapping, but we also did Solution Tree. We worked with a wonderful lady named Gwen Zimmerman on 5 through 12 math. So again, that's that scope and sequencing. So it's the third angle that we've been really taking out with secondary math at the middle levels. We are continuing with school safety training. We have Dan Govert and Officer Burkus who are working in all of our schools and going in and doing the safety tour. We have SAVIS training. SAVIS will be the textbook that we're hoping that will be adopted here soon tonight with the school board, and then we'll be doing the training program on literacy for that. Literacy will also be a key focus for us moving forward into the rest of this year and into next year. And then training with Apple applications at the middle levels right now at this year, and then looking at going into elementary for next year. So we have a lot that we are doing with our staff, our teachers, and then expanding that into, as we build systematically, also with paraprofessionals or teachers' assistants, working with our co-teaching. It never ends, but we're doing a good job here with hitting upon kind of our major area of focus, which is mathematics at the middle level this year. Yeah. So that brings us to kind of one of the big topics that we'll be asking for a vote on later tonight, and that is looking at the language arts textbook adoption for K through 4. We felt the need to take a look at why our literacy scores in grades 3 and 4 on the iLearn assessment weren't reflecting the same level of achievement that we were seeing in mathematics. One of the areas that we noticed that probably contributed to that is the curriculum that we had in place. We felt that a lot of the readings were at Lexile level. That was probably about one grade level below where our kids could be, so they weren't being pushed as far. So we wanted to look for a rigorous reading program. So the state of Indiana requires that when you look for reading programs, that you look for high quality instructional materials. And the reason why that matters is because that can change that has a high impact on student learning. As you can see here, 10 to 20 percentile points can change just with having high quality instructional materials.
I'm glad to see that it's research-based. It
Yes.
validates the effectiveness and the outcome of these materials.
Absolutely. And we looked at, and I'll tell you about that in the research, in the process that we have here. The process that we wanted to make sure that we worked with multiple stakeholders. So we worked with the teachers pretty closely. We started this process even about a year ago. And we wanted to make sure all teachers had a say in this process with evaluating the materials. We were able to narrow down our focus to 2 large vendors. One was our current vendor, which is McGraw-Hill for Wonders, and then we looked at Savvis, which used to be Pearson. That was the MyView. And we then, we did some collaborative evaluation where we had a day on our early release where we had grade level teams working together, and we surveyed all the teachers and asked them to fill that out. And the analysis to try to meet what are our needs, what are the needs of science of reading, what are our needs with literacy, what are our needs with rigor. And then we had we took the survey showed that Savvis came out on top with our teachers. But beyond just that, we also wanted to talk to other schools that have adopted, districts that adopted Savvis. And they found that, yeah, it was more rigorous, and there was a little bit of some growing pains at first because of the level of rigor, but they have been happy with that. And so then the last part of that was really negotiation with Savvis on pricing and trying to see what we can get for teacher materials, student materials, licensing. What does it look like 1 year out, 3 years out, 6 years out? And really for the money, 6 years of payment was actually cheaper than the 3 years. So even if we decided not to use it after 3 years, it's cheaper to go with the 6-year license. So the timeline for adoption is we are continuing to explore the Tier 2 and Tier 3, which means students who need additional support beyond what everybody gets, which is Tier 1. Savvis does have some materials with that, so we'll be exploring for that. Probably some of that use in summer school this year with iRead students who show at risk in grade 2 or who didn't pass the iRead in March coming up. And school board approval, of course, for the textbook adoption. Purchasing teacher materials. The warehouse for Savvis is in Indianapolis, so those materials could be here within a couple of weeks. So we can move fast on that, and then over the summer, start to get the student materials in. Beginning a scope and sequence alignment with iLearn checkpoints and scope and sequence to align with UFly for grades K2 will be a big center point of work with our teachers, starting with early this fall. That's the curriculum mapping that will be starting there. Developing end-of-unit common summative assessments, and then teams will begin, and then from there, of course, the formative assessments, and teams will begin looking at programs to supplement MyView as needed. Because no textbook is ever 100% complete. So we looked at several of them. There's a writing component, I think, that our teachers are interested in, it just to help supplement that and strengthen that as well. So the next order of that I'd like to share with you is talking about the High Ability Handbook. And so we want to ensure that High Ability program aligns with the district vision, but we also want to make sure that we are compliant with Indiana code. So that's very important. So in order to do that, then I went through our current handbook that we had, but I also went through 2 other documents. One was the Indiana Handbook for High Ability Coordinators, which lists out Indiana administrative guidelines and Indiana code. But we were audited last year. We did a self-audit ourselves with a company that came through Ball State and looked at here's what our program has, here's what we're doing well, here's where we need to improve. So with that, then we want to develop equitable, unbiased, and transparent systems for identification and supporting of all stakeholders. So not only the children, but also teachers and their parents. So some changes that you'll see in the handbook here, and the handbook is in the black folder that's before you here. First is moving the kindergarten identification to a monitor status. So we identify children in kindergarten now. That doesn't change, and so by state code, we have to identify those students with the state. The difference is that the research is very clear and consistent that children at that young of an age, their testing fluctuates quite a bit. And so if children test later and they don't show that they meet the level that we need to have students at to be able to be qualified for high ability, in the past, we've pulled them out. Instead of doing that by grade 2, which is when testing becomes more consistent, then we take away some of that stigma of, oh, you're no longer qualified. But once students are qualified, which is also a change, they stay in the program unless the parent exits them out. Because we know that children develop differently, and once you've been identified as high ability, you still may need some interventions, you may still need help. And so they stay in the program.
Do students that attend preschool, pre-K, do they have an advantage? Do you notice an advantage of them coming in versus kindergarten kids that roll first time in public education?
So I think what the research is clear about is not necessarily pre-K per se, but children who have experience with reading at an early age do come in with more of an advantage, at least in school. They school better, they do schooling better, studenting better. However, the test that we use on one of the tests that we use for identification in the aptitude test really isn't one about whether you can read or not, because it's read to the children orally by the teacher. So that one's really looking for logic and reasoning to be able to identify that. The achievement test probably can be swayed by students who have stronger reading skills. So I think that we've seen that socioeconomically it ties with that. A lot of times homes that where the reading is stronger, the children perform more highly.
Makes sense.
We have a multifaceted identification plan, which that doesn't change. We still use the same, we have 3 pathways. So the first pathway is with a cognitive or an aptitude test, and for us in our district for kindergarten, grade 2, and grade 4. And this year, grade 5, we had to use 4 levels, 5 because we didn't do it in 4th grade last year. But it will go to K2 and 4, is COGAT, which is the aptitude test, and that's what the kids are taking right now. The second pathway that kids can get in is through, if they're in K or 2, is the NWEA test. So they reach a certain percentile score on that, then they can be qualified. For grade 4, iLearn does provide a Lexile or a quantile level, so we have a cutoff for that. How I determined that number was by looking at you want to try to aim for about top 10% of your students. You really don't want too much more than that, because you're supposed to have students who are exceptional beyond what happens at grade level peers. And most places will talk about the top stay 9, maybe at most top 2 stay 9s of identification. So top 10% is where I looked at where did we fall on last year's iLearn scores. And so I even gave probably a little bit of a fudge room, so it's anywhere between 9 to 11% any given year. We should be able to identify. The third part, which I think that we'll improve upon in our system here, is a qualitative measure, which the state does also require that we have one. What that is that students that fall within the standard error of measure, because we know that tests aren't 100% in measuring what they say they're going to measure. They just never are. So there's always this little error of measure, right? This window that you have. So if students who fall within that error of measure right there, the standard error of measure, if they do that, they automatically then qualify to be tested with this scales for identifying gifted students called SIGs. What that is it's a checklist, a rating system that teachers and parents will fill out. And if they meet those requirements, then that's their third pathway in. So we do have a multifaceted plan to have children being identified in the program. And then, of course, grades 5, 6, 7 change with Indiana code this year, actually at the end of last year, and that is that any child who receives an above proficiency on the mathematics iLearn exam and has at least a C in their current class, they automatically have to be moved up to the next accelerated level. So if I have a grade 5 student who scores at above proficiency on the iLearn exam this spring, they don't just go up to 6th grade honors, it has to be the next accelerated level, which would be the grade 7 standards. So we've been working with our teachers at the middle schools to try to create then where they probably have half the year in one set of standards and then the other year at the next level. The idea being we want to get as many kids into Algebra 1 in the 8th grade year as possible. Why is that important? Because it's likely then they're going to take more advanced mathematics when they get to high school and then be able to be college and career ready. That's where that's coming from. So we also then beefed up our exit and appeals program, so there is actually a form. If parents at any time don't want their children in a high ability program, it doesn't happen a lot, but it is possible. Sometimes children are, stressed and they don't want them in the accelerated classes. We have a process for that. If students don't qualify under our 3 pathways and they want to appeal that, we also have a process in place for that. Both of those qualify under Indiana code. And that's it for my presentation. It was a lot of information. What questions can I answer for you?
Answered my questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of changes to it, right?
Yeah. We want to qualify and get as many students who are high ability. We want to identify as many of them as early as possible so they can receive the high quality instruction that they have for high ability is what I should say, because we give high quality instruction for all of our students. High ability instruction for our students, and that's an area too that we're starting to work on is the curriculum for that as well. We want to make sure that it's not just one group of kids that's segregated from other kids, that what they're receiving is deeper rigor, more creativity, and to be able to expand more deeply into the topics that they have.
I'm happy to see the collaboration among the grades so that there's a smooth transition for the kids as they move forward with all these higher expectations.
Yes. We've been collecting some materials, some curricular materials, and sharing it out with teachers, having them look at them. We'll have them come together across the district for the elementary, since there are 3. The middle school and the intermediate math teachers, like I said, have already been meeting. So our next area is really to talk about at the high school. We've been moving away from some of the honors classes and going towards pre-AP, which is we feel a little bit more rigorous to prepare them for the advanced placement courses. Try to get more of those kids who can take AP calculus, more of those kids that can take AP statistics, to get those kids to where they feel confident, comfortable in those courses when they reach high school.
Okay.
All right, so that's.
Thanks, Tammy.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, we got the business operations report.
Yes.
Dana.
Just as a follow-up to the Skillman presentation here, I wanted to let you know that we have received notice that our rebates from NIPSCO are on their way. So we're actually getting money from NIPSCO, $133,000.
I didn't know
That's
it
for the
was
solar
that.
panels?
Yes, coming in for
From the
our
solar
LED upgrade projects and all of that, so, notification. And that's, I should have spoke up when they were here because, Skillman files those reports for us and it's a pretty extensive application to go through, to prove and get all that information, to NIPSCO to qualify for that rebate, so, that's a wonderful thing to have that come back here.
Awesome. Great news.
Yes. We are, let's see, on the agenda, I have 2 items tonight, stale dated checks. That's an annual thing. Any check that is 2 years old that hasn't been cashed and we can't find the payee and get it reissued, we can take it to the board and ask for it to be canceled and the money goes right back, reverting back into the fund. So you have 24 checks in there from all of our 7 accounts, including the building accounts, not just the corporation here. So ECA checks, some of them are pennies, like $2.50 or 30 cents a check that people just don't want to cash, I guess, or not take. So that's before you today. Also on the agenda, we have a freezer purchase. The reason why this is on the agenda, this is a smaller freezer for one of our concession stands. And
From the
it's-
older building, or is this part of the new stuff?
It is, no, this is from the older building. I think it's down by, they call it the big concession. So I think it's down by the field house area there. We needed a new freezer. The one we had died, and athletics is purchasing this out of their extracurricular account. So State Board of Accounts whenever we purchase equipment from State Board, from these extracurricular accounts, we have to take it to the board for approval. It did follow our purchasing procedure of 3 quotes. The most responsive and lowest quote was Nason's, and we're recommending that on the agenda tonight. I wanted to give you a heads up on a couple other things. We will be advertising a notice for bids for our farm lease for the 20 and a half acres that we lease out each year over at Lake Prairie Elementary at 181st and Wicker there. We will advertise that, or it's going to be in the papers on the 19th and the 26th of February, both in the Times and the South Lake County Sun. We'll have those advertised. Public bid opening will be March 9th at 10 a.m. And I will bring a recommendation to the board to enter into a lease with the most responsive party at the March 12th.
Has it been a consistent over the years?
It has been a very consistent family that's been farming it for over the years. Last year's revenue from that, it was $2,700. Yes.
It's nice money for just sitting there.
Yeah, so it's about time for it to be bid out there.
It's pretty low.
Yes, it is. It is low. So we're hoping this will reap some
It's very low.
higher.
I just know it's positive, so.
Yes, yes. So that'll happen. And I have an announcement here. This is incredible news again. The summer feeding program that we had last year that was very successful is going to continue for an additional 4 years. So we qualified for 4 more years after that first year. So we'll be able to continue to feed through the summer at our middle school location. It'll be a non-congregate feeding, so it means you can drive through. We'll have a Tuesday and a Thursday service. We'll start that on June 9th, I believe, is what our tentative date, and it'll run probably 7 or 8 weeks. Last year, we only did, I think it was 6 weeks, but since school starts later, we're gonna extend it even farther and see if we can get into August and serve longer. So last year, we served 29,202 breakfasts and lunches each. We had a $247,000 federal claim that went in there, so this is paid for by the federal government, so it doesn't cost the school district anything. So we had $247,000 in sales, let's say that we can call it, and that helped we ended up with $116,000 in profit for the food service program. That negated the need for an increase in meal prices. We were looking at a meal price because we were about $100,000 short and going into the hole on that, and we were looking to make up $100,000, and this did it. So we're happy that we can continue it. The only change is that last year we were serving for 4 hours on Tuesday and 4 hours on Thursday. That was a special exception because we accidentally advertised that for 4 hours. Technically, you're only supposed to be open 2 hours. So we still haven't quite settled on what time. We're thinking 4 to 6 p.m. might be able to capture a little bit of the day crowd and a little bit of the evening crowd, I guess, after work crowd. So that's where we are right now, but more information will be coming, but I just wanted to let the public know that we are going to continue that, and it was a very successful program for our community last year. And I included in your packet a copy of the December financials. I won't make you look at that depressing chart tonight again, but just know that it's in there for you. And it just shows our financials, the one pager that I was showing each month with the waterfall report. But we'll discuss more about finance things in the superintendent's report.
I thought we were getting out of that.
No.
Can I add to business and operations?
Yes, please, Jason.
So on January 14th, we had the state fire marshal come in and do an inspection along with Lowell's fire inspector. In 2018, we had an inspection. We had 23 deficiencies. In 2021, we got an inspection. We had 8 deficiencies. This inspection, we had 0.
Oh, wow.
There was no deficiencies found through any of our buildings, so that is a team effort for teachers, staff, and everybody, because they crawl and look for anything in the building, so.
Yep.
I just wanna, yeah, so that is a good achievement for us for that.
Fantastic.
Great job.
Fine job.
All right, anybody have any other questions for Dana? Move on to Jay. Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening. I have a couple of items for you this evening. The first two are action items that are on your agenda. We have our yearly E-rate bids, which is funds that come from the federal level. If you ever take a look on your phone bill, you'll typically see an item on there for, it's a small fee for universal services. They essentially, what they do is charge telecommunications companies or consumers a small amount of money, goes into a pot, and that's shared with libraries and schools to pay for telecommunication services, internet, and equipment to ensure that our schools have access. So every few years, we'll bid these out for equipment. And we had two projects this year that I'm asking for approval on. The first is for our district firewall. We do that each year. We had one eligible bidder for that project, but it's the same company that won it the last 2 years. So we're confident that they're gonna do a good job for us. And the second one is for some network switching equipment to help with the natatorium area. So those two projects, I'm seeking approval, and we're very happy with what we got there for those. The second action item is for disposal of some assets. So typically, technology items, when we use them for their usable life, they typically don't have a lot of value when they go to auction. So in this case, we have two different sets of items for the board to approve for the disposal of. We have some cameras that came down with our safety and security project. So we're mostly finished with putting all those cameras up. Now we have to figure out what to do with those. We do think that those would be items that might have some interest at auction, as well as some old battery backups. Still usable for other companies. They just need to put some new batteries in it. So we believe there might be some save or some money coming back to the district for those. And then the other is just some general items that we've used beyond their usable life, old laptops, things of that sort. So we try to find homes for those things, but in many of those cases, they've just outlived their use here. So I would appreciate approval for those two items. And please let me know if you have any questions about those. Two other items. One is an update on the Senate Bill 159, which is currently making its way through legislation. This is a bill that is covering two items. The first is that we will be required to promote how we are going to allow parents to control our devices, our iPads, when they go home. So this is a relatively new thing for a lot of schools. We do have some measures in place to do that already with our iPads, but we're kind of waiting to see what the feedback is on that as this bill progresses. The other item that goes with that is that we will be required to provide some additional measures for our teachers to control what type of content students are getting to during the day. We already provide that filtering, but it'll give a little bit more control to our teachers to lock students out of things that they really shouldn't be getting into. So,
On Senate Bill 159, what would be an example of a rule that they would put out there?
for
For that Senate Bill 159, the rule that you were talking about for parents?
So
Or
what they're
limitation?
what they're looking to do is to basically give parents the ability, if they said, I want to lock my child's device down and I do not want them to get on the internet. They can do that. As soon as it leaves the school building, parents would have the ability to
And
shut
you
that
would
down.
provide instructions on how to do that?
Yeah, we provide the software and then we have to provide instructions to parents on how to do that.
Okay.
And that would be, if in your household you decided you wanted to leave that open, you can absolutely do that. If another family wants to close that down completely or give students access to only certain applications or certain times, they would be free to do that.
Okay.
It does not interfere with our ability at the district level to do what we need to do during the day. But as I said, they're also increasing that ability for classrooms
Beyond
to
the
do
walls
that.
of school. Got it.
any questions on Senate Bill 159? The other item is an update on our iPad cases. So if you recall at a previous meeting, I shared that we went through the process of replacing our iPad cases. We went through approximately 2,000, about 2,200 of those. We started out, really things were going pretty well, and unfortunately, we are starting to see some issues. It's not to the level of what we were seeing before, where we were swapping out 20 to 30 cases a day. At this point, we've seen approximately about 80 from the first of the year to now. So it's still more than we're comfortable with. We have some of the issues that we're seeing are new ones that we did not see previously.
Such as?
For example, we're definitely seeing some issues with power, where our iPads are draining very quickly. You'll have one student that doesn't have that problem at all, and then the next student will say, I had it plugged in all night, and then it drops down to 50%, and then we'll unplug it, check it, it goes back up, and it goes down again. Yeah, just some odd things. We are starting to see some of the original issues start to come back, where sometimes the keyboard cases will just stop functioning, and the student will go to press it and it doesn't seem to work, but then they'll bring it down to us and we can't replicate it. So some odd things. We have shared that information with the case company and with Apple. We told them we're not happy. They have gone back and looked at some of the sample items that we've sent back to them, and have determined that there are some manufacturing flaws with some of them. Some of them they cannot replicate. So Tammy and I had a meeting with Apple and shared our displeasure with them and told them they're gonna have to figure out how to fix this. We do not see a situation in which these cases will be sustainable for us. So Apple has made it clear that they are looking at every option on the table for us, including complete replacement of those cases, not to disrupt during the school year, but to find a way to get those out of here, because it's just clear that this company can't get it right. We have also talked to them about other options as well. You know, we've said possibility of going back to laptops, refunds. Everything is on the table, including we are starting to look at the possibility of looking at Chromebooks. And we are at that point. So Tammy and I have had a lot of conversations, and we're starting to have conversations with our teachers and sharing that this is a possibility. In conjunction with Senate Bill 159, because of those changes, that plays into it as well, because we do need to have some of these tools in place, and they do have those on Chromebooks as well. So unfortunately, it's not the good news that we were hoping for, but at this point, my team is working to mitigate that as much as possible. You know, so we continue to keep all options on the table.
All right, thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Anderson.
Yeah, brief superintendent update. Wanted to make you aware, I did represent Tri-Creek Schools at the Lake County Government Center at the end of January to testify regarding the economic development area that was approved at Route 2 and Interstate 65. It is the new John Deere facility. I have put on the screen, it is a tax abatement for $120 million on the real property tax and up to $25 million on the personal property tax. And then you see the delineation of year by year, the 100% tax abatement the first year, 85% the second. The reason I think it's important that our community understand is sometimes that they see economic development, and when you hear the schools are having some tough times, but we've got all of these homes going in Lowell. Well, 9 subdivisions were on a residential TIF, meaning we will only collect the property tax on the value of the farm ground, and everything above that would then go to the town of Lowell. In this situation, again, we will not reap directly the property tax off of that. It now will be in the hands of the county and affect the overall tax rate for the people in our district. Dana, I don't know if you fact-checked all that, if there's any clarification, but that's what I felt, the gist.
What it does is it eases the total real property tax net assessed value onto the tax roll. So the first year, there'll be a zero effect on our tax rate here. Then it'll ease on it, only about 15% of it will roll on, then another 30% will roll on. So it just increases all the way to year 7, and by the time you get to year 8, then we feel that full amount of tax on our tax roll from that facility.
All the while, the assessed value
Yes.
will continue to go down, so even though our tax rate increase, it's on a decreased assessed value. So, Dana and I will be going to a meeting up in Cedar Lake on February 24th because we've been notified that they are considering a residential TIF on the northwest corner of our school district that will have development on it. Their plans are also impacting Hanover schools and Crown Point schools that fall within their jurisdiction. So we'll keep you posted on how that develops. Dana and I had the privilege and opportunity to present to state legislatures last Friday, and 3 senators, the 2 representatives on the screen, and we had the platform to tell the Tri-Creek story. Part of the story that we told in regards to the budget reductions we've taken over the past 3 years, this was a good reminder that we've cut nearly 10% of our staffing in the past 3 years. And you can see the whole host of areas, and then we restructured other areas that all resulted in a cost savings. We renegotiated contracts, the ones that were multi-years, we canceled some. Our curriculum resources, we pared down to bare essentials. Our professional development, we have targeted those that align with primary district goals get the focus. And then we've limited all others, including the board and the superintendent's professional development that occurs out of town. And just to note that our class sizes as a result of these cuts, our kindergarten classes are as high as 27 students. In the classrooms grade 1 through 4, they're hovering around 29, and 5 through 12, they can go anywhere from 25 kids up to more than 33, and even some classes 40 plus. So this is the sign of the times, and I felt like you should be aware of what's going on.
What was their response? What was the percentage of staff reduction you said?
Nearly 10%.
10%?
Highland had presented, and they had cut 5% of their staffing when their referendum failed. And Dana put the following information together, and I'll just tag you, Dana.
Sure.
Pretty self-explanatory, but
These are the items here that we can't live without. We have to have electric, we have to have buses, we have to have gas to run those buses, and insurance here. So these are the costs that have risen over the last year here. In Tri-Creek, our electric is tracking at least 17% higher rate-wise. Even with all these LEDs that we've put in there, it's still showing 17% up. Buses are at least 20%. What used to be $99,000 for a bus is now $155,000 over the last 4 years, but recently in the last year, 20% increase. Property insurance, even though we haven't had any claims, I'm knocking on wood, 11.3% up. No different than your home. Or any of these costs that have gone up, but it does go up for a school district as well without any of that. So quite a few costs have risen there on top of it. Even though we've done those cuts, it's kind of like walking uphill in sand. You're sliding back a little bit each time.
and that's the superintendent's report.
You'll have let me end on a bad note again.
Have you seen our actual electric bill go down since we've implemented all the LEDs and everything? Is our actual bill less? We're
No.
using less kilowatt hours.
You know, in locations where I can look at it and see, okay, elementaries, yes, I could see that. I definitely can. We're using it differently too. This building, we've expanded a bit, and we don't have all of our solar up yet. With the natatorium and, you know, we just started that athletic solar array. But our footprint has definitely increased with the North Star building out there. And we are just now starting to get on that level ground where I can see that. We did have a wonderful call with a potential partnership with an energy management company that we're looking at. The best part about the call was that we have opportunities here to cut back, but we're very different than other school districts because we've done most of the steps that they recommend, which would be the LED, the solar, and switching out our HVAC, our chillers, and all those main systems. So we're at the point now where maybe looking at just tweaking our usage and the way we use it and what rates we're on with NIPSCO would be a great benefit to us. And the quote that we got for the study would guarantee at least a 5% reduction in our overall costs, which would pay for the quote itself. So, and then some. So
In just the first year.
yeah, in just the
And then you
first
would
year.
have
So
the
we're
savings forever.
looking at taking our alternative energy and energy reduction even further with this company. We'll come to you with a report on that once we fully vet it.
They will
But-
dial in the kilowatts,
Yes,
Alright,
and they'll
awesome.
tell you when the best time is to use your energy and when to not.
yeah, that's what it is.
Alright. Do we have any board member reports?
Actually, I do not have a report. Our meeting was supposed to be yesterday, but they canceled it and rescheduled it for next Wednesday. So I'll have.
We'll catch you in March.
Yes.
Thanks, Nate. All right, so then we can move on to action items. So, this is where we do motions, right?
Yes.
All right, so can I get a motion for cancellation of the stale dated checks?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Second one, adoption of elementary textbook materials.
I'll
Can I
make
get
a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number three, updated high ability handbook. Get a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number four, overnight athletic trip for Lowell High School wrestler Alexa Utley to participate in the IHSAA wrestling semi-state tournament at the Cortiva Coliseum, Indiana State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis, Indiana, from January 15th to 16th, 2026.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Good luck to that young lady. Number five, overnight athletic trip for two members of the Lowell High School girls swim dive team to participate in the state finals at Indiana University Natatorium in Indianapolis, Indiana, February 12th to 14th, 2026. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Number six, overnight athletic trip for members of Lowell High School boys wrestling team to participate in the wrestling state tournament at Gamebridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana, 19th to 21st this month. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Seven, overnight study trip for students in the Lowell High School Red Devil manufacturing class to participate in the Indiana Tooling and Machining Association competition at the Central 9 Career Center in Greenwood, Indiana, February 20th to 21st. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Purchase of a replacement freezer for the Lowell High School concession stand from athletic extracurricular account. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Declare specific outdated technology equipment as surplus and authorize the disposal of said equipment. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Bid proposals from Matrix Integrations of Jasper, Indiana, and People Driven Technologies of Carmel, Indiana, for E-rate Category 2 equipment. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. F, action consent items. Reorganization meeting minutes from Thursday, January 8th, 2026.
You can do all of them together.
Okay. Board of Finance meeting minutes from Thursday, January 8th, meeting minutes from Thursday, January 8th, payroll and claims, and personnel report. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And then our donation consent items, we're gonna do all these together too. $17.50 donation from Cops Cycling for Survivors Foundation Incorporated of Ellettsville, Indiana, for the Lowell High School Live, Love, Give Scholarship Fund. $50 donation from the Tri-Creek Education Foundation to help fund Lowell High School FFA program in memory of Alan Little. $250 donation from West English for the Lowell High School Girls Wrestling Program. Donation of a sensory swing from Carrie Hamstra of St. John, Indiana, to be used in the Lowell Intermediate School Life Skills class. $50 donation in memory of Liam Dahlberg from William and Tracy Green of Dyer, Indiana, for the Lowell High School Junior Red Devil basketball program. $500 donation from the Lowell Intermediate School PTO to purchase a poster printer. $186 donation from the Three Creeks Elementary School PTO for the first grade study trip. $574 from the Three Creeks Elementary School PTO for the second grade study trip. $235.71 donation from the Three Creeks Elementary School PTO for the third grade study trip. An anonymous donation of 2 Rogue Echo bikes valued at $995 each to be used for the Lowell High School wrestling program and wrestling room. And an anonymous donation in the amount of $34.80 for the Feed Them Forward program. Great list of donations here.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you to those donors. Do we have any public comment not related to action items? At the end? All right.
After you close the meeting.
Okay, so we are going to hold a second executive session immediately following this meeting. And the next meeting of the Tri-Creek Board of School Trustees is scheduled for Thursday, March 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Any further questions or comments from the board?
I'd just like to say thank you to all the donors that contributed very generously toward our school.
Yes, very impressive. A list every month. So, appreciate the support from the community. All right, with that said, we'll go ahead and close the meeting.